Hi everyone, welcome back to our popular SheLeads Tech podcast series. I'm Shirley.
And I'm Jade, and we're both members of the Osaka Vancouver chapter SheLeads Tech team.
This season of our podcast is called Breaking Barriers. It is difficult for women to break barriers in tech leadership. Doing that at work and in your industry association takes an amazing person.
We have a great lineup this year, and we're excited to introduce to a new guest every month.
In case you don't know about us yet, here is a little bit about Osaka SheLeads Tech first. The SheLeads Tech Global Program aims to increase the representation of women across the digital trust workforce and elevate more female leaders in technology.
Why? Because there's a gender imbalance, and recent studies have shown that imbalance is even worse in the technology field.
The gender balance has real benefits for organizations.
SheLeads Tech is really community-oriented. We engage women and men to help develop, empower, and advance women in technology-related careers through engaging events.
If you are looking to grow your network, build new skills, or just meet some inspiring people in tech, SheLeads Tech is a perfect place to start. We host panel discussions, networking events, and so much more.
And our podcast series is the perfect way to start. In each episode, our featured guests talk about their experiences.
They also share their tips to empower women in the field and grow our next generation of female leaders.
We drop a new episode every month, so stay tuned, everyone. And thank you for joining us along this journey.
Hi everyone, this is Julie for SheLeads Tech podcast, where we talk about the amazing journeys of women who break barriers. And today I'm talking to Anusha Venkataraman, who is an assistant professor in the Faculty of Science at Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops and an adjunct professor in the Department of Electrical and Computer Engineering at the University of Victoria. With a background in semiconductors, physics, nanoelectronic devices, and circuits, she is deeply committed to teaching, research, and advancing knowledge in this field. Her research focuses on nanoelectronics and microplastics, where she actively collaborates with students to explore innovative solutions. Beyond academia, she volunteers at events supporting high school students, youth, and immigrants. She leads summer camps for children, partners with local organizations, and delivers guest lectures and workshops on STEM, girls in STEAM, and EDI-related topics. She also serves as one of the scientists and innovators in schools, mentors for the Kamloops region, where she shares her expertise to inspire the next generation to pursue careers in STEM. Outside of work, she enjoys quality time with her family, going on long walks and driving to distant places to connect with nature. Her goal is to make a lasting, positive impact to the community through her professional and personal contributions. Anusha, welcome.
Thank you, Julie, for having me and for the wonderful introduction. I'm excited to be a part of this conversation.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you. I'm going to ask you the first question, if you're ready.
Yes.
Can you tell us a bit more about your journey to becoming a professor?
Sure. So growing up in a family of educators, I've always felt a strong calling towards teaching and mentoring others. My mom, who's a physics professor herself, often shared stories about her students working on fascinating projects for science fairs, and I would accompany her to these fairs at a very young age. This early exposure helped me spark interest in science and technology. I think this interest deepened during my high school, especially when I was preparing for a science fair where I worked on a water filtration system. And this experience fascinated me, showed me the real world impact of problem solving through physics and engineering. I went on to complete my bachelor's in engineering, followed by master's. Later, I pursued a PhD focusing on semiconductor physics and nanoelectronics. Through these academic experiences, I found immense satisfaction in both the thrill of discovery and the collaborative nature of research. As I progressed in my academic journey, I realized that one of the most fulfilling aspects of my work was mentoring students and sharing knowledge. teaching became a natural extension of my passion for learning and discovery. Becoming a professor allowed me to combine my love for research with the opportunity to inspire and guide the next generation of scientists and engineers.
That's so awesome. So what has driven your passion for science and technology? What's the drive there?
My passion for science and technology stems from curiosity, wanting to understand how things work and how we can use that understanding to improve the world. Science allows us to answer fundamental questions, while I believe technology empowers us to turn those answers into practical solutions. I've always been inspired by the potential of technology to address global challenges, whether it's healthcare, environmental sustainability, or communication. That sense of purpose is what drives me today.
Hmm. Um, I have a question that I'm sort of circling back to your bio. Is there a difference between women in STEM and women in STEAM?
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, and STEAM is the addition of arts into the program. So it's now science, technology, arts, math, and engineering.
Oh, I have way more questions about that after my next question. Um, can you explain what your research is about for people like me with little knowledge in science and technology, which I shouldn't say, I guess, but could you tell us a bit more about, in plain language for noobs almost, what your research is about?
Sure, Julie. So my research focuses on two main areas. The first one is nanoelectronics. In nanoelectronics, I explore devices and circuits at the nanoscale, working to enhance their efficiency and functionality. Well, to explain all of this in very simple terms, I'll tell you a story. As a high school student and also as a fresh student just joining college, I was always fascinated about cell phones. Over years, they became smaller, flexible, and more powerful. And always I had this question, what next? How is the next generation of cell phones going to look like? And that led me to delve more and more into the nanoelectronic side of things, where our goal was to look at complementary technology that would help in future electronic devices. So I worked and I continue to work on using gold nanoparticles to create molecular electronic devices. This research has potential implications for everything from future electronic devices and circuits to advanced computing, renewable energy, and any application in healthcare that talks about drug delivery and applications like that. This is about nanoelectronics that I did my PhD on, and I'm continuing to work on it. The other area of my research that I recently started exploring is my work on microplastics. All of us might have heard about microplastics polluting our environment, be it the sea, ocean, or even compost. So my focus here at TRU and also with my collaborators at UVic is to study the environmental impacts and developing innovative methods to detect and remove these microplastics, in particular from day-to-day compost. And both of these areas allow me to contribute with subject matter experts in respective fields, working with students, combining cutting edge technology with hands-on problem solving for practical applications. I hope it was simple enough, but I'm happy to break it down further if you have any questions.
Yeah, I think I'm going to push you on this one a tiny bit so that I fully understand. So you're saying that your work right now focuses on microplastics, but can you tell us a bit more about how technology is helping us fighting microplastics, removing microplastics? What would be the correct approach there? And
Well,
how is technology like helping us doing that?
Well, our work just started on looking at microplastics in compost, but my research, be it be nanoelectronics or microplastics, for me, technology is everything that I deal with. In my research, I use advanced tools like designing, fabricating, analyzing nanoelectronic networks using high-end microscopies like atomic force microscope that can look at details at the atomic scale level. In our work on microplastics, we use technology to potentially develop methods to detect and identify these microsensors using various spectroscopies and to identify contaminants in the environment and also look at use of various dyes and technologies to actually remove them efficiently. Not just in research, Julie, I think teaching also uses a lot of technology. I use a lot of simulations, virtual labs to online platforms for collaborations. I'm always looking for ways to enhance learning experiences for my students using technology.
Hmm. And it's so important right now. The landscape is changing so much in that respect.
I agree. Yes.
Which is it's a good way for me to ask you the next question. So you're talking about how your research has very practical impact in our daily lives. You're also teaching about your role, talking about your role as a teacher a lot. But I was wondering, what led you to choose a career in education over a career in the industry?
That's a very good question. And I had this question in mind a couple of years ago when I was given an opportunity to either choose teaching, research, or choose an industry job. So while industry offers exciting challenges, I realized that my true passion lies in shaping the next generation of thinkers and problem solvers. I think it's in the genes. My mom was a professor, so academia gave me the opportunity to combine research with mentorship and even today, it allows me to contribute not just to the knowledge, but to people's growth via technology or implementing things that we learn in our research lab. Teaching also allows for more creativity and flexibility in pursuing long term projects that may not have an immediate commercial application at this point, but they're still meaningful for something to do for the future generations.
And can you tell us a bit more about, so teasing out when you talk about teaching, what does being an educator mean to you? What
Being
is
an
an educator?
being an educator is about it's not just about teaching concepts, but I believe it's about inspiring curiosity, empowering students to think critically, and helping them realize their true potential. I believe pedagogy plays a central role in this as it involves the methods and strategies we use to facilitate learning. It's about understanding that each student learns differently, and it's important that we adapt our approach to meet their individual needs. For me, it's incredibly rewarding to see students take ownership of their learning and achieve things once or things that they considered very difficult to achieve at one point.
And you're also an educator outside the classroom, right? You do a lot of work in outreach. And when we talked before, you said you also do a lot of work to support underrepresented populations in joining sciences and joining the technology. So could you tell us a bit more about your work in that respect, your work in outreach, and what is it that you do to support different kinds of populations to be more visible and to have more access to those fields?
Outreach is a very big part of my work. I volunteer at events that encourage high school students, youth, immigrants to explore careers in STEAM and STEAM and STEM. I lead summer camps for children and organize workshops regularly, especially during the summer months on topics like girls in STEAM and equity, diversity, and inclusion topics. For the underrepresented populations, I focus on creating pathways and opportunities, which includes providing mentorship, collaborating with community organizations, whether it's local to Kamloops or through the Science World in Vancouver, ensuring that resources and support systems are accessible to all of us here.
And about that, so I have a question about the STEAM part. As someone who comes from the arts and literature, so when I have a sense of women in STEM, but women in STEAM, how does the arts part fit? Sorry, in the STEM part? Is that what it is? Is it the intersection of technology and arts, or what's the arts part here?
It could be anything. It could be the integration of arts into technology. It could be increasing the representation of women or any underrepresented groups in arts and making it equal with the other fields around us.
Okay, so it's not just arts. Oops, sorry. It's not just arts in technology or in sciences. It's just arts in general, whatever
I
that
think
would look
it's
like for the.
both.
Okay. Okay, so not to corner you or anything, but do you have a sense of how arts could improve technology? And is there this sort of thinking that arts could improve technology or support technology? Is this part of?
Definitely, yes. In today's world of developing technology, we have to use technology in all the aspects. And I truly believe that integration of arts and technology is also one key aspect that would really help in the or taking this forward to the next level.
I see. And so when you do this work in outreach and when you work with all those young people, um, I'm thinking specifically about young girls. What are some of your strategies to encourage them to join the sciences? How can one support that effort? What do you do? Do you have practical tips for us to join the team effort there?
Sure. One key strategy is emphasizing representation, sharing the stories of women scientists, and encouraging engineers to demonstrate what's possible and inspire young minds. I believe it's important to prioritize hands on activities that make science both fun and engaging, such as creative experiments and problem solving challenges. Mentorship, I believe, is also another critical component. Connecting girls with role models who can inspire and guide them through their journey helps build a sense of belonging in the field. I believe it's important to focus on fostering confidence and actively working to break down stereotypes about who can excel in science. Looking ahead, I hope to collaborate with different other organizations like yours, ISACA's SheLeads Tech, to broaden outreach and empower underrepresented populations with the tools and resources that they might need to thrive in science and technology.
Can you tell us a bit more here about how you envision mentorship? So you're a mentor, and then how do you create those mentorship opportunities? Are you an active part of that, or?
Yes, yes. So I am an active mentor with the SIS, which is Scientists and Innovators in Schools group. And one of the things that we do together is that we fill in our interests, our background in research and technology, and we connect with high school girls in particular who might be interested to know more about what the future looks like for women in these areas. So we have regular mentor-mentee kind of meetings with the students, talk to them. Sometimes we also have something called a day in the life of, where a student is invited to shadow me, look at things that are happening in my life as an instructor at a university, and give them more tips and thoughts about things that are actually achievable. So all of this includes the mentorship activities. We also, as part of the CIS groups, we also look at providing guidance to the students if they have any questions. And if I'm not able to answer it as a mentor, we also have a big network where we actually connect the students with others who might be able to help them further.
That's amazing. That's such a good initiative. I feel like so much of it is also feeling it's hard sometimes as a young girl to feel like we can, right? Or to there's also such a stigma that women are bad at math or bad at sciences that sometimes we perform the stigma, right? So I think it's amazing to see women who manage to do that and to say, yes, I can do that too. As someone who was very bad in the sciences and technology at first, now I'm good. Can you tell us a fun activity that you do with those girls? Something that would speak to our inner child or late bloomer. But what are those activities that you make them do that you said are hands-on? What is it that sparked their curiosity here?
Sure. So the first thing that comes to my mind is a recent workshop that we did at the Big Little Science Center here in Kamloops, again in partnership with the Women in STEAM program from SIS Vancouver. So what we did there was we organized an evening workshop where we encouraged the girls, especially middle and high school girls, to create electronic circuits of their own that would light up. And so this was as simple. We had girls from grade 6, grade 5. Some of them looked at the circuits before, some of them had no idea about wiring and things like that. So one question that I asked some of the students is, does this interest you? All the wiring, all the things, how would you connect something so that the bulb glows? And a lot of them had no clue, or they thought, oh, this might be complicated. But through this workshop, we created simple experiments where they just built a simple circuit. The art where some of them were interested in arts, they made some nice pictures, like a picture of a robot, which I have in my office. I wish I could show it to you. So the robot's eyes glows up when you connect the circuits properly. So it was like designing their own circuit, and something that a lot of these young kids loved being part of.
And it's so rewarding when you see the effects of your work so in practice right in front of
That's
you.
true.
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
Going back to what you were talking about, being a woman in the sciences and in technology, going back to mentorship, I was wondering if there's any challenges you've ever faced as a woman in the sciences. Is there also any challenges you see as a woman in the sciences, in education specifically, maybe? And maybe you could tell us a bit about how you overcame some of these challenges, or maybe how some of them are still an issue for you, if you wanted to share.
Sure. So that's a very powerful and a great question, Julie. And I think as a woman in science, I'm honestly admitting there have been times when I've faced challenges like bias or the pressure to prove myself more than others. And balancing work and family life also has significant challenges at times. So for me to overcome this, what worked for me is I've relied on mentorship, peer support, and advocating for myself when it's needed. The last point, I'll be honest, I'm still working on it. I'm not doing it all the times, but I've worked to create spaces where other women feel supported and valued. In science education, challenges persist in terms of underrepresentation and limited role models. So I believe by fostering inclusive environments, mentoring students, showing them other women's success stories will actually help to change this quite a bit.
I love that, women's success stories. And it's also nicely tied to my next questions that I had for you. So you talked about how, when you talked about being a mentor, you talked
Mhm.
about talking about success stories. My question was, are there any mentors or role models that influenced your path? I would think your mom might have been one because you talked about her before. But do you want to tell us a bit more about that, or maybe about other people and how those role models have impacted your career?
I have several mentors who have influenced my journey. Like you rightly said, Julie, my mom comes first. She was an educator herself. She instilled in me deep love for teaching and learning from a very early age. As a student and a student researcher myself, I must say that I was fortunate to have professors and colleagues who were women or who actually recognized the potential and encouraged me to take on challenges that I might have otherwise hesitated to pursue. Their guidance taught me the values of asking questions, asking help when needed, and very importantly, saying no when I have too much on my plate. And this is one principle that I now strive to pass on to a lot of my students. Talking about my current role at my work, I'm also fortunate to have very supportive colleagues whom I deeply respect. They inspire me, they help me in balancing multiple responsibilities at times, guiding me in excelling in various roles. I also draw inspiration from the groundbreaking contributions of great scientists and innovators in science and technology who have actually advanced in the field in various remarkable ways.
And I like that you were talking about how to say no. I think it's so hard to say no. We feel like we have to do things all the time. And the fear of saying no, what would happen to me if I say
True.
no?
Yes,
And
true.
so I wondered in that way, what have been some of your strategies to balance your personal life and your job responsibilities? I also imagine that as a PhD, as a researcher, you have this pressure to publish, right? This pressure to perform in that way, where it's hard to say no to collaborations, or how do you find time to work on research after you've taught so much during your week? So if you could tell us a bit more about maybe that first part, balancing your research time constraints, and then the second part would be, how do you balance that research part, your work, with your personal life?
Oh, that's a great question. And I must admit, I'm not an expert. There have been days when I take the other or my personal life to be more important than my work life, or vice versa. And I believe balancing personal and professional life is a challenge. I found it helpful to set clear boundaries, prioritize tasks, and ask for help when needed. I also started doing this very recently, where I'm trying to be fully present in what I'm doing at the moment, whether it is spending time with my family or focusing on work. I also believe it's extremely important to take regular breaks, in particular, regular breaks from our day to day research or teaching, and make time for activities that recharge me. I love walking, traveling, also helps in balancing both of these and getting me back on track uh, when needed.
It's so scientist of you too. You know, like all those like older scientists used to be philosophers, and there was this whole practice of walking to think. So I think it's
Yes,
also so in line with who you are, and how you think. I really love it.
thank you.
If one of our listeners wanted to pursue a PhD, what would be your advice to them? What kind of career path can a PhD open for women in tech?
My advice is to choose a topic that you're genuinely passionate about. And the next thing would be to find a mentor who aligns with your goals and values. Honestly, PhD requires a lot of perseverance. So having strong support system is very, very important. PhD can open doors to careers in academia, industry, and even entrepreneurship. So for women in technology, it's an opportunity to lead innovation and contribute to shaping the future of the field. The key is to stay curious, collaborative, and confident on your abilities and willingness to learn all the time.
And if I wanted to, if I knew I wanted to be in the industry, but I still wanted to do a PhD, do you think, what do you think that would add to my job in the industry? Is this necessary, or what does it add to a career that you could maybe pursue without the PhD originally?
Well, it really depends on what kind of job you hold in the industry. I can give an example for something in my field. So we have companies like Intel or Samsung that work on chip manufacturing, electronic chips that get into all our cell phones and electronic devices. So for all those chip manufacturing, we do have specialized job roles, whether it's a research analyst or something like that. And having a PhD is a very big advantage to some of the job roles like that,
Okay, so for more like research positions
research
within
based
the industry.
positions. Yeah.
Interesting. Can I conclude with a personal question?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So you're the mother of a little boy. How old is he?
He's 5.
5? Okay.
Yes.
Um, Seeing how much of an educator you are, I imagine that you're also very thoughtful about the way you want to raise him, and about how you want him to sort of exist in the world, to approach knowledge. And so I was wondering, how do you raise your boy to be a good ally to women?
He's 5, so we are trying, we are learning different things. So, raising a boy to be an ally starts with modeling respect and inclusion in everyday interactions. My husband and I, we openly talk about fairness and the importance of valuing everyone's contributions. We encourage him to challenge stereotypes at his level, ask many questions as until you're clear about the situation, and to see strength in empathy, collaboration, and kindness. We are trying to teach him to actively contribute to create a fair world. But he's 5, so yeah. As he grows up, we are looking forward to all of these in or helping him grow up with all of these.
Yeah, no, but it's great to start thinking about it now. Sometimes we assume that all of these questions come so much later, but even young minds are so, you know, they absorb so much of the world around. So it's great to hear you talk about that. Does he have is there any kind of science inclinations already? Do you see anything there?
Oh, yes. I took him with me to one of these summer camps that we organized recently for children where we were doing water filtration. So the question was, what happens when we go camping and let's say you don't have clean water, you don't have the fancy water filters, what would you do? So we would take all the natural things like pebbles or sand and use it as a filter, create layers. So this is something that I showed him, and he was very interested in doing all of those things. So there seems to be a lot of liking to science and science experiments. So let's see how it goes.
That's great. That's great. Very creative mindset too.
You.
Anusha, is there something that I missed that you think our listeners should be aware of or should think about?
I think you covered all the aspects, Julie. All of
Awesome.
them. Yes.
Thank you so much for your time with us today. It was such a great interview.
Thank you for this opportunity. It was really a privilege to talk about my journey into this field and all the research that I'm doing here.
And we'll make sure to link some of the programs that you talked about, some of the resources you talked about in our episode descriptions on YouTube and on Spotify, so that everyone can see the great work you've been doing.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Little bonus. We were talking with Thais, who's also a volunteer at SheLeads Tech, and Anusha after the recording of the podcast, and we thought this one was for you. So Anusha, do you want to tell us a bit more about what you have in store for us nerds about your research?
Sure. So I actively work on using gold nanoparticles to create molecular electronic devices. And one of the applications that we looked at was creating physically unclonable functions to be used for hardware security. And I would now give you a very brief background as to how gold nanoparticles could be used in such an application. Can I share my screen, Julie, if that's okay?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Because we information security people love a good encryption, so show us.
Sure. Thais and Julie, can you see my screen?
Yes.
We see your screen.
Okay. So the title is Molecular Scale Hardware Encryption Using Tunable Self-Assembled Nanoelectronic Networks. And I would go on to show you an image here. So the image that you see here that I'm pointing using my cursor is a mix of gold nanoparticles, which are 30 nanometers in size, interconnected with molecules. So basically, the tunability here is changing the number of molecules in the network or changing the type of molecule in the network. So what we did is when we had a structure like this, we do everything in solution. So our solution was deposited on metallic electrodes. And if you see here, can you see my cursor, Julie?
Yes.
Yeah, so if you see this golden kind of region here, that's the solution that was dried. And when we took it for electrical analysis, electrical meaning measuring the current with respect to changes in voltage, we noticed that some regions gave us linear current, some gave us different magnitude of current, and so on. So when we plotted the current graph versus an electrode pair, we noticed that when you compare the two of them using different statistical algorithms, we could get zeros and ones based on the comparisons that we do with neighboring keys. And that's how we generated a key whose size is determined on the number of current measurements and the comparisons that you make. So this is one, we tested this key using the National Institute, the NIS standards, and we also tested it using different statistical algorithms. And we got results where it said that this key looks to be unique and non-clonable. So this is for the use of gold nanoparticles in hardware encryption.
I just want to say that the message here is that when we ladies say that we love our bling, we love our gold, this is what we mean.
That's true. Yes, the size of gold nanoparticles does influence a lot of these applications. So yes, that's
Awesome.
about, yeah.
Amazing.
Is there another plot you were going to show us?
I think that gives all the messages.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the add-on.
Thank you.
Thank you.